Receiving simulator transmission. Uploading transmitted feed. Initializing playback sequence. Log execute.
Hey everyone, Seipher here, and welcome back to Seipher Plays Pokemon Heart Gold Nuzlocke. In the last episode, we started our journey through the Johto region, receiving a Pokedex from Professor Oak, a Pokemon from Professor Elm, and having to face down a Pokemon thief in the form of a red-haired rival named Scarlet. In this episode, we'll be progressing forward, but before we do, I would like to show that I have trained up my team off-screen, and I would like to go over the encounters, as I didn't really get a chance to last episode because there was just so much that we did and I needed to stop. So, first and foremost, we've got Mizune the Rattata here, who is a careful nature and often scares things. The often scares things will denote her highest IV. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I know that you can find the information on Bulbapedia if you so wish. I will not be providing it simply because I'm already providing something later that I'll go into. Anyway, the nature indicates that she has a increased special defense and decreased special attack. Not a good nature, but not a bad one either. Pretty decent. I mean, not losing out on attack or speed is pretty much the way to go for Rattata. And it has the Guts ability, so pretty good all around. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. It's actually a pretty rare encounter because when I encountered it in the morning yesterday, it was, well, I say yesterday, but it was more, when I say yesterday, I meant to say last episode. It was a 5% encounter rate, which is very rare, and catching it meant that a lot of good things for me in coming areas, at least from what I remember. One of those being my lonely nature Victoria here, the Geodude, who has a plus attack and minus defense nature. Another rarer encounter, but significantly easier to catch with Rattata in the bag on Route 46. So, actually a pretty solid Pokemon for this point in the game. It's really going to be useful, especially against the first gym, as the first gym is a flying type gym, and rock types destroy flying types, though she'll need to learn a rock type move before she can do any serious damage. Her ability is probably the better of the two for this generation. From Gen 5 on, Stardy is the better, but for this generation, Rockhead's superior, even though I don't think she learns any recoil moves naturally without being taught them by a move tutor or something. But we can always address that later if she survives long enough to encounter a tutor. Last but not least, we have our naive little Caterpie here, Beefy. Beefy has plus speed and minus special defense. Not the best nature, but I already got pretty lucky in my Fire Red Nuzlocke with a Caterpie. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's a card in the corner for you to go check it out. But in that, I was actually really psyched to get a Caterpie because, for those of you that don't know, for Nuzlocking, Caterpie is an amazing Pokemon to get. Not because it's a great battler or anything, but because it can be such a utility player for any Nuzlocke team, allowing you to catch Pokemon left and right once you evolve it into Butterfree. So, I will be focusing on getting Beefy up in level as we progress forward by battling trainers. And we're going to start with the meme lord himself, youngster Joey, and his Rattata that is in the top percentage of Rattata, or so he says. Personally, I think that he does get like some slight IVs that are actually pretty good for him, but they're nothing at this low level. Really, he just gets very strong the more you battle him, because he is one of the types of trainers that will give you their phone number to battle them again if they call you. And honestly, a little useful. I personally prefer training against wild Pokemon in certain specific spots, because that way you can control what EVs you get. But this guy's not bad for some speed EVs. And with that, Beefly is about to evolve into a Metapod. I did put off the evolution off screen, mainly because I wanted to show it on screen, but I also wanted him to be up in level. And I figured skipping level 7 means that we're only missing one move as a Metapod, and it's Harden, which I never really use whenever I use a Metapod, so not much loss there. In any case, we can now progress forward. With our next opponent. The main reason that Butterfree is such a good Pokemon in Nuzlocke as a catcher is because of two things. One, its ability goes from Shed Skin as a Metapod to Compound Eyes as a Butterfree, and Compound Eyes increases the accuracy of moves that it uses. And the second reason is that Butterfree gets the powder moves, which are normally 75% accuracy power status condition moves that inflict poison, sleep, or paralysis to a Pokemon. Normally, those aren't very good. They're not very accurate, and you wouldn't really want to use them over, say, things like Thunder Wave, Spore, and Toxic. But there is an exception, because with Compound Eyes, the 75% accuracy of those three moves becomes 97.5% accuracy, which is a lot better than, and at least harder to get moves like Spore for Sleep Powder, because Spore, while it is 100% accurate, isn't widely spread out to many Pokemon and is usually learned at very high levels, so not always the most useful for when you're wanting to catch new Pokemon. Anyway, as for another subject that I can talk about while we make our way up and fight this trainer, I did mention last time that the shininess of a Pokemon carries over to the overworld in their following sprite. The shininess of a Pokemon just means that the Pokemon will have a different color palette. For instance, Ash, my Cyndaquil, the starter that we went with, ends up having a pinkish red on its back instead of the bluish green that it has right now. Personally, I don't think many shinies are all that great. I'd rather just have the cool original color palettes, but there are some standouts. I had originally planned to discuss this when we encountered a shiny Pokemon, because there is at least one guaranteed one that we'll run into, but I figure since I mentioned it last time, might as well mention it now. And the reason I had planned to save it for when we encounter that guaranteed shiny Pokemon is that the odds of us finding an actual shiny in the wild legit are pretty minuscule in this generation. Granted, they are better than what came before, where it was like a 1 in 17,000 chance. I'm roughly overestimating that because it was more like 1 in 16,000 something, but here it is 1 in 8,192 chance of finding a shiny, which better than previously, but still not all that great. So let's see what we can find in this route now that we're in Route 31. And we've encountered a Pidgey. Not the best, but better than probably anything that we could catch. And so with that, I think that I'm going to just throw a ball because it's a low-level Pokemon, and at this level, these catch rates, it's likely to work like at least a 1 in 3 chance. And lucky. Got ourselves a Pidgey. Not all that useful of a bird in my opinion, but hey, you never know. Could use a fly slave. I think that I will just go with a random name since I don't really have a naming theme for you like I did in the Fire Red Nuzlocke. So, your name's Peter. And you know what? Let's see what Peter is like before we progress onward. Adamant nature, and loves to eat. I believe the adamant nature is plus attack minus special attack, and yep, that is. And that's actually a pretty good nature for him. Kind of funny considering the last Pidgey I got in the Fire Red Nuzlocke had a timid nature, which increased speed but lowered attack, which wasn't all that useful. Anyway, now we're going to go into Dark Cave and find another encounter because there are 3 Pokemon that could be found here on this side. And there's one that I hope that we run into because we already caught Geodude, and there it is. Thank you for coming out, Zubat. Let's hope that you're as amenable to being caught as Peter was. Come on, stay in there. Luck be a lady, luck be a lady. Luck is a lady tonight. Well, today, I guess. Well, that's good. This is shaping up to be a really good game because I'm getting all these good encounters. Most people usually write off Zubat because it's so common. You get tired of running into it every so often. But Zubat is an excellent encounter for a Nuzlocke. Very fast, great typing for defenses, all around generally very useful. So with that, we can now move on. And before I check out Langstrom, let's see what that is, and that's a potion. So let's see what we're working with Langstrom. Naughty nature and found in Dark Cave. So plus attack minus special defense. That's actually a pretty good nature for him. Granted, if he gets hit with the special attack, it's going to hurt, but it's actually a really good nature to get his attack boosted. So, looking pretty good right now. Let's keep moving forward by battling this guy, because I think after we fight you, Beefly will evolve again, and then we'll be one step closer to having the ultimate catching team, the ultimate catcher for a Nuzlocke, at least for the early game. So yeah, as you can see, Johto has a lot to offer you in the beginning that Kanto, quite frankly, didn't. If you ever played the Fire Red and Leaf Green, or even the originals or the other remakes. Don't get me wrong though, I don't have as fond a memory of Johto as I did with Kanto, because honestly the Johto games and these remakes that I'm playing right now, they didn't exactly have the best level curve. And honestly the Johto deck's kinda iffy for me. Like, you got some cool ones like Crobat and the Typhlosion, which is what Cyndaquil will eventually become, but then you also have odd Pokemon like Stantler, Sudowoodo, and Dunsparce, which are really anything to write home about. But I suppose not all that bad. And ooh, that's bad. Poison. Luckily, I don't think that this bug catcher will be able to take us down within this battle. Oh, never mind. Shed Skin for the win. Not an issue. Thank you, Beefly, and your 30% chance to heal off a status condition with Shed Skin. So, looks like I was right not to buy any antidotes. I did buy more Pokeballs, as you've clearly seen, because we had 2 at the end of the first episode. Bought 10 more, just so that we would have a good stock, and got a free Premier Ball out of it, so we should be pretty good on Pokeballs. Normally I would recommend buying healing items at the marts if you're in a Nuzlocke that allows them, but I didn't because I knew that there wasn't all that many Pokemon that could poison me in this game, because for some reason Weedle, the most common poisoner of the early game, is Soul Silver exclusive and I'm playing Heart Gold. And there's not really a big forest area right at the start like there was in Fire Red. This guy will give you berries if you take his phone number after beating him, and that's very useful because outside of the Pokewalker gimmick that they added as a tie-in to this game, you can't get berries otherwise, so definitely take advantage of any trainers that say that they'll give you berries when you beat them. Anyway, with that, we can actually move on. Granted, I know that Beefree doesn't have the powder moves that I was just mentioning earlier that make him pretty much destined to be a catcher, but it's fine enough to leave him be for now. We can always get it off screen, and I want to do a few other things before we end this off. Okay, Lyra ran into us again, giving us a versus recorder. Not as good as the versus seeker that we got in Fire Red, but oh well. Thank you, Lyra, I guess. I wouldn't hold too much hope of us staying behind you. You're not really a rival. Usually it's the rivals that stay ahead. Although, as I showed with Blue back in Fire Red, that isn't always the case. Before I do anything, I want to quickly go heal. And I want to make note of that guy on the right of the counter with the black hair and the thick eyebrows. His name is Primo, and if you use a online helper tool, which I'll be including as a link in the description of the video, and your trainer ID, you can get secret codes to unlock wallpapers for your PC, and you can get Pokemon eggs. I will be getting one of those eggs, but just one because I don't want to be overly indulgent with my Nuzlocke. Like getting because you can get up to 3 eggs from him using the password system. And I would want to risk that egg, so we're gonna hold off on that for now. We're just gonna hold off on password system. I'll probably do it off screen while I'm preparing for next episode. But before that, we're gonna go down here to Route 32 and see what the grass has to hold for us. And here we go. And a Mareep. Well, I honestly have never used one of these, and it's another guy. But let's see how we can do. I did have a nickname if this thing was female, but don't really have one for a male, so this is going to be a bit... you know what, I don't really have a good nickname for this one. Depending on how it is, I probably won't use it. I know that it's a fan favorite of this generation, but, well, a fan favorite of Johto, but I never really saw the appeal. It's fairly slow as an electric type, but you never know, so let's just use this. And because I don't have a good idea for a nickname, I'm just going to go with the first thing that comes to mind. Alright, Jason. We'll just go in the box, and I will check you out later. Now with Jason in, we've pretty much got the first gym unlocked, because now we've got an electric type and a rock type. I think that will both do fairly well against gym leader here, but before we go and check him out, I want to just pop in the gym real quick, see what we can see, and it seems that we're being blocked off by somebody. Yo, champ in the making! You must be here to challenge Faulkner, the gym leader, right? You are quite welcome. Almost. This city has a tower called the Sprout Tower, where trainers come to train themselves. Challenging Faulkner may be too difficult if you haven't gone through their training. Ha ha ha. Okay, well, you certainly seem to have an opinion of us that is fairly low. But you know what? I will go there anyway, but not today. As much as I would like to continue on, I feel that we have done quite a bit this episode. So, I will just sit out here and wait for the next episode to come. Or rather, wait to be ready to record again. So, until next time, thank you guys for watching. Stay gold.
Playback sequence terminated. Transmission disconnected.